president. You're talking about a new owner. You need that consistency. Marty Herney needs to be there. In my opinion, is the right pick. Now, the question is, do they leave the interim tag on him and let the new owner to go, or do they go ahead and make him permanent GM? That's the real question at this point.
So this is crazy. The stream never started on YouTube. So I started now.
Take two.
So this is take two. But the audio podcast, they got all of that, dude. They got all that information. Welcome, YouTubers, to our party that we've been having.
That was the best 10 minutes we ever did.
Yeah, you missed the best 10 minutes of the show ever. And it was on Periscope working. It's on Facebook Live, and that's working there.
We had Christian McCaffrey, Steve Smith, Julius Peppers, all in 10 minutes, man. What great guess that was. Jeez.
Boy, we really blasted through that, man. We're gonna have to retire now. Yeah. All right. So okay. So we got the owner. We're kind of, other than him just being a giant billionaire. I've never been through this before, Mel. Well, actually, nobody that who has been a Panthers fan has been through this. Ownership change. I don't even know what to think about when we do that. And when you're talking about people at those levels, we don't know anything about them. I mean, we
don't know. I mean,
we need to see their taxes.
What if this person coming in and it's gonna change an awful lot. You know, I mean, what happens with this ownership? It could be somebody who just wants a completely different culture, right? Wants a Cincinnati Bengals type of culture.
I'm excited. I'm excited. I think I look forward to freshness in my life, you know, and so I'm interested in this. Like you said, is that, can we get new jerseys? Can we get new helmets? Or what are they going to do to the attitude of the marketing? Is that, will we see changes in the way that Panthers media operates? I know that you won't see these things immediately, but the ship isn't just going to continue to chug at the same speed in the same direction. There is somebody's taken over the helm, and that obviously is going to make some difference. So I am excited about that. I hope we get black on black uniforms. I want us to look like we in not Friday Night Lights. What was that? Any Given Sunday. I felt like them dudes, they always had those really popping uniforms. We have the colors to do it. So I'm excited about that, maybe. But other than that, we have nothing to think about on that. When it comes to the Panthers news, really, there's nothing even to talk about right now. Can you remember an off season that is as boring as a forecast as this one? And ironically, there's been the most change we've ever had in the history of the organization. Is boring.
I was going to say that there's not. When you look at it from a big level, there's a lot to talk about. You got a new GM. You got a new ownership coming in. You got a lot of draft picks to talk about. You got free agency. You got decisions to make. But right now it is a lull. But watch after the combine, and once free agency starts, it's going to be wide open. So it's going to be an exciting offseason. I mean, within a few weeks, we're going to be talking about who our new owner is and what to expect.
Yeah, I think another thing that makes it kind of boring to me in relation,
because you hadn't drank in a week and a half.
You're right. It's right. There's no booze. This life that y'all live is so boring. No. What I was going to say is that even if you think of the free agent departures that we have going for us, it's a guard and a defensive tackle. They're not, by their very nature, they're
Not
not
sexy.
they're not positions that get people riled up. Is that the worst? We're gonna debate over this. Is like, can you replace a guard? And some people will be like, no, we can't replace them. And then Mel's gonna say, yes, you can. You can't put that much money, right? It's like even when you're trying to fake being angry, it's like, all right, well, it's a guard and a defensive tackle, and he's not even the tackle that gets all the sacks. So it's not even the cool defensive tackle. It's the grunt defensive tackle. So I think that has something to do with it.
So where do you fall on the Norwell issue, man? Should we franchise him?
I don't like. No, I don't think we should.
$14 million.
I'm at the point where this is that, like, if you think that highly of him, you should sign him. Right? Is that if you think highly enough to franchise tag him, you sign him.
Right.
Now, you could franchise tag him and trade him, but I don't think anybody's going to do that. Go all crazy for a guard like that. Like, I mean, Dave Gettleman's going to come in there and be like, "You want a 7th round pick?" And you know what I mean. Right. So, I think you have convinced me about, like, you can't spend that much money in a line that's performing at this level. Like, we kind of need to be preparing for next year and getting rid of Matt Khalil maybe, and making
swing Tyler Moton down the guard, you know.
Yeah, like, you sign these dudes. This is a little bit what we talked about last week. Is you sign these dudes for a reason. I mean, you drafted these dudes for a reason. It's for this moment that you did do this. So I think it's just kind of boring. Like, we don't have any big contracts on the horizon. Like, even if it is a big contract, it's Norwell. You know what I mean? That's not even like, you know, it's not like locking up Luke Kuechly or a franchise player. Like, I mean, it's just different. So that's it. Like, there's nothing to talk about for the Panthers. That's why we're looking to the Bucs. And that's why we brought on our man, super heavyweight, Gene Thomas, is here to talk about the team that is always number one in the power rankings of the offseason. You guys, Mel, how much money they got?
$1 million in cap space.
Like 74 million, something like that.
$74 million.
That's ridiculous.
What do you do when you got that much money? Gene, how you been, man?
I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
Fantastic. Thanks for coming on tonight. We need some insight on what's bubbling down there in Tampa Bay with the Buccaneers this offseason. So we brought you on. Where are you at right now in just looking at the free agency approaching the offseason? Kind of what's on your mind as the real things that we should be thinking about, not the kind of noise that surrounds it?
Well, basically, I know that the big news was, Doug Martin getting released, and then Chris Baker right behind him getting released as well. And unfortunately, if you're a Bucs fan, you saw that coming. It was something that, Doug Martin was put in a prime position where he was suspended for the first few games of the season. And, all he had to do was come back healthy and keep his head in the game and, just play his game. And unfortunately, he didn't do that. He didn't produce like he should have. And what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers organization was hoping for was a performance like 2015, where he was the number 2 rusher in the NFL. And, he fell way short.
So how long is it going to be before he signs with the New England Patriots?
Probably it's going to happen.
Yeah.
No, seriously, I don't know. All I know is that, he was given the opportunity to succeed, even though he had some issues the year before. And then he ended up with the suspension because of the, I think it was Adderall. And, the Bucs put enough trust in him to say, hey, we're going to give you this season to see what you can do. And, when I think he ended up with like 400 and something yards, he was, he way underperformed, and he just didn't look like the Doug Martin that, we were all used to seeing. He's in great physical shape. I mean, you can look at him and tell, he looks like a football player, but so when he got out there on the field, he just didn't have that burst. And you could see it. There were times where he was getting ran down where, in years past, you just didn't see that. And
they said
in his time,
2 years in a row, he averaged under 3 yards a carry, which is amazing considering where he was.
Know that feeling? No, I'm just kidding. We don't know that feeling. We know a guy that feels like that.
Pretty close, yeah.
Joe,
Jonathan Stewart.
Mel, you'll be able to tell me this because you're the guy that always. Who's the running back that always says, "I get you 3. You need 2, I get you 3. Need 4, I get you 3."
Oh.
Do you not remember? I feel like you're the one that told me that. All right, you guys carry on.
I am the one that told you that, but I can't remember. I don't know if that was. It wasn't Jerome Bettis, but it was back in that day, so it was somebody like Ironhead Hayward.
So you're saying that losing Doug, are you saying that losing Doug Martin is more? It sounds worse in the way it sounds than the way it really is.
Yeah, absolutely. I know there was a lot of the fan base that wanted to see him gone last year, just because of what happened. He signs this big contract and then he just didn't produce, and I think he was injured and. A lot of different things were going on, and then he had the issue with the suspension, and that was just the end of it right there. And they were able to free up some money, and the name that I keep hearing, and again, I'll wait and see if this happens, is Le'Veon Bell. So
oh wow,
again, that's one of those things that I keep hearing his name mentioned. I know a lot of people have talked about. Bringing in a free agent running back and then drafting a running back as well, because this draft is full of some really nice running backs. So there's a possibility that you could see that kind of thing happen in Tampa.
Slim J said Doug Martin is just a weightlifter, not a football player. And and Carl D said, Marty Herney, I hope you're listening and taking notes. Cut bait with Jay Stu because. Those things sound similar to Jonathan Stewart. Is that it's not necessarily a liability when they're out there, but it's not an asset in the same way that it used to be. Now that
I mean, look at Kamara, Alvin Kamara. I mean, that's a great example. Nobody saw him. I mean, there are a bunch of teams that had a chance to pick him up, and it just he just slipped all the way to the Saints, but. That's just one of those examples there of you have to trust your talent evaluators and hope that they can go out and hit a home run with one of these running backs.
Mel, it doesn't sound as bad. One thing is this is funny. So we just heard Gene tell us that the biggest kind of right now the news is Doug Martin and losing him, and people are freaking out, and they probably shouldn't be freaking out. And it sounds worse than it really is. But then he followed it up with Le'Veon Bell is a potential target. So, to me, when I hear that, I go. And
again, that's just a rumor. We're in the infant stages of free agency. That's just a name that I've heard, and I've read 2 or 3 articles in Buckland that all kind of point to that. They have the money to go after big time free agents.
You have $74 million. Why should Le'Veon Bell not be on your radar? I mean, that's what I would say.
It's because Pittsburgh's not going to let him out the building.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I know that he's going to test free agency. LeGarrette Blount, there's another running back that's going to test free agency. So you will see a veteran running back in the backfield this season.
I think that would be quite cool to see LeGarrette Blount come back to Tampa.
Yeah, that's a sore subject with me. So,
there you go. Well, by the way, Tony, I looked it up. The name was Leroy Horde. He was the one that originally said that.
Leroy Horde.
You asked me to give you 2 yards, I'll give you 3. You asked me to give you 5 yards, I'll give you 3.
Man knows his limitations.
Well, and two, there are a lot of glaring holes on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. So. There's a lot of work to be done. And, as I don't know if you listen to my podcast, but I mentioned before that the GM and the head coach are auditioning for the jobs for 2019. They've got to hit a home run here, or it's, you got to throw the whole team away and start over.
Speaking of the defense, you guys just hired a former Carolina Panther and Brenton Buckner and former defensive line coach for the Arizona Cardinals. How do you feel about that hire? You know, he's very popular with Panther fans, not only for his play, but his personality and the way he'll come. He would always call in the Charlotte radio, even when he was in Arizona, and talk NFL with the local radio guys. How do you feel about that hire?
I don't mean to sound like negative Nancy, but I have to see what this team does, because players play, coaches coach, and you have to have the product on the field in order to get the benefit of a good coach. And, you know, again, Tampa is hurting depth-wise on the defensive line side of the ball. If you think about it, and you think about the 2 games that you played against the Bucs, who were the edge rushers on the defense in either one of those games? Give me one name that was an edge rusher
for your team.
Yeah. So you're having to think about it, and that's my point right there.
Vernier was something. What's that guy that was from Miami? No, that guy that went to Miami went to New York. Didn't the guy from New York come to you guys?
Well, yeah, Ayers.
You had somebody.
Ayers.
That's it.
Yeah. And see, that's what I'm saying.
He's old though.
Yeah, he's on the back end of his career.
Yeah, you guys didn't have any sacks. You didn't get any pressure. You didn't finish last year. When we had you on the show last year, dude, when we played you guys, it was week 7, and the Carolina Panthers, Julius Peppers had more sacks than your entire team did.
Yeah.
Or it was tied with it. So obviously you're going to have to make some moves on defense. You've got the money there. So you want these guys, while people are focusing on Doug Martin and potentially landing Le'Veon Bell, you've got your eyes on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, it's the defensive line. Who do you see as a potential solution? Because I don't think defensive ends can translate quickly from college unless they're just like freakish number 1 picks.
Yeah, and Tampa has the number 7 pick with that, and I would love to see Bradley Chubb, on that line.
Break my heart there. That's my dude there, man.
I would love to see Bradley Chubb on that line. He would definitely help out Gerald McCoy, and definitely put them in a better position than what they are. So that's somebody.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but your defense, though, I'm curious. What's the status on Brent Grimes? He's a free agent, right?
Brent Grimes is radio silence right now. I don't know if he's going to sign or not. That would be a huge loss if he wasn't there. Just because, and you guys can attest to this, how he's played. He doesn't play like he's 35, 36 years old. I mean, this guy can still jump out of the gym, and he's very athletic. And there's just a huge drop off from Brent Grimes to the next cornerback on that secondary.
Honestly, I think he's just afraid of his wife. His wife is like, you need to get out there and play now.
Nah,
that is the problem.
No, to be honest, she's as much as people don't like her, I really get along with her. I have since she was in Atlanta. And I've never had any problems with her, but he pretty much does what he wants to do. She just is outspoken.
Keeps him young, dude.
Yeah, and she's just outspoken. She's just super outspoken, and nobody can control her. And it just
she fiery, dude.
Her,
she fiery. Nah, yeah. I got a crush on Miko Grimes.
I do. He talks about it all the time.
We've also got Greg Barber. Long time, man. How have you been? Greg Barber covers the Saints and was on Southbound and Down. This is like getting the band back together. Greg, welcome back to the show.
We got to do that. We got to do that at least once a month. At least once. Just
You're
come
right.
on. Just
it is good.
One time.
It is good. You're right. We can do it. We can do it. I'm more settled down. We kind of stopped it when I had to move and it was getting crazy. Greg, what's up, man?
Yo, on mute, Greg.
Oh, better?
Yep, there you go.
Can you hear me? Okay, there we go. Yeah, I'm good. How are you guys doing? Thanks for inviting me on. I was looking forward to this. This is cool.
Yeah, fantastic.
Right.
Thanks. We're talking a little bit about the offseason and the other teams just because there's nothing to talk about our teams. We did get a question in the YouTube chat for Gene, and he said, what's the deal with Vernon Hargraves, and what about Noah Spence? These are two.
Noah Spence, Let me start with Vernon Hargreaves. Vernon Hargreaves is in the slot right now, and I don't know.
There's nothing.
I don't know, and
that.
see, and I don't know if it's coaching. Well, he's a first round pick. I mean, that's you don't.
Yeah,
you don't waste a first round pick on a slot corner.
Agreed.
Or nickel corner, excuse me, nickel corner. Let me say this. I'm more excited about Noah Spence. Noah Spence has shown flashes, and then he's been injured, and it kind of reminds me of what happened with Gerald McCoy. When Gerald McCoy's first 2 seasons in the league, right at the end of the season, he gets injured and he's out for the rest of the season. And these injuries, I know he's working really hard to get back, and he's in the weight room. We finally saw a picture of him, just working out. So I'm hoping that he will be in football shape to get out there and make plays this season. So look for him, and look for him to make a big comeback as well.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. He's a player, man. He's uber talented.
Greg, what we opened the conversation with to Gene was, what's the, from us looking at the outside, is that, you get the noise. You get the noise stories, the ones that are always buzzing around the internet. But we follow these teams closely enough to know which are the real things that we are on our mind. So what's on your mind in New Orleans right now?
For me, really, the draft more than anything. I think a lot of fans, you can hear me, right? Everybody can hear me? Yeah, we're good. Okay. A lot of the fans are looking at asking about potential free agents and stuff like that. And I'm like, we had a really, really good draft last year. And we're finally getting to that. We're finally getting these drafts right. The last couple of years, we've got some really, really good players that have added to the team. It almost makes, I'm okay with free agents as long as they're value free agents. Somebody who may be coming in on a prove-it contract, somebody who might be a good value, but maybe a good depth for depth.
Kind of like you did last year with AJ Klein, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Somebody, right. And you get these guys like Ted Ginn and things like that. They were good value players who feel the role.
You know what? I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna jump in here real quick.
Yeah.
What I've seen here with some of the picks that do come in, you have to get guys that are playing at a high level where they were before they come over to where you are.
Agreed.
Because that's been the issue with Tampa. Is Tampa's gotten guys what they call value picks,
right?
And you get what you pay for. But a lot of these guys weren't playing at a high level. They may have been playing for their contract, whatever team they were on, and they played lights out that season. But then they come over to us, and they're not. That's not the same. So you don't get that consistent game film of somebody playing at a high level. Example like a Calais Campbell.
Yeah, exactly.
Where you saw Calais Campbell was just playing like a monster, and then when he came over to Jacksonville, he really put that defense over the top. So players like that are playing at a high level, when they leave, those are the kind of players that you want to get.
Well, now another one too that nobody really thought would be good, but what happened was New Orleans put him in the right spot, and that was Alex Okafor before he got hurt. He really solidified that other end with Cameron Jordan. Because he was doing very, very well. And you think about it, he was on a prove-it contract, and the fact that he was kind of playing out of places at linebacker in Arizona, not as much on DN, and he came back. Vaccaro because him and Vaccaro went to college together. Vaccaro kind of talked him into coming there, and then they got him down at defensive end, and the guy played very well. But like I say, those were nobody was really big money. You weren't, you're not worried about busting your salary cap with any of these guys that they got. And every last one of them filled big roles and played well and were there for depth. And that's what I'm looking at. I'm not looking for the big money. Some people want Jarvis.
You guys don't got no money. That's why.
No,
Jarvis Landry.
And y'all stay broke too. I don't know how that works.
That's not true, because if you look at our salary cap, we've been under the cap for years for the last.
Well, you got to be under the cap like every year, but you're right.
I'm saying well under the cap. I'm saying well under the cap.
Yeah.
We have not
right now, you guys are 33.
You guys are living like talking 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. We're not. This is today. Today is the cap is pretty been very well.
That's my big question for you right now. You guys are $33 million under the cap, but you've got Drew Brees to sign.
That's
we got
25.
Drew Brees to sign. Yeah, well, and that's probably us 25. But if you think about it, if they depending on how they sign the contract, what they do is spread.
That's going to be key. That's going to be a key. How long they spread it out for?
It's not going to take that. Yeah, and I think the whole key is probably 2 to 3 years. It's probably like a 2 to 3 year contract. It could be up to 4. Keep the cap manageable, but at the same time, they got some voidable years or some other stuff in there. But
it's gonna be like the Saints. Look, he's downplaying all this. He's downplaying like they ain't gonna get no big name, and the Saints are gonna be the one that get like dang Le'Veon Bell. Not Le'Veon Bell because you guys got 2 running backs, but you'll probably get like Sammy Watkins or some mess like that. Like you guys always do this. You always look broke.
But
then all of a sudden there's this magic New Orleans money.
But here it goes. Year. But they had money last year. That's what I'm saying. They were like 18-20 million under the cap last year. They were actually under the cap. You guys, like I said, you guys are living a story back 5-6 years ago.
I know. Yeah, you're right. I mean, even when you were broke, you found a way to find money.
Exactly. But the whole key that most people tend to have an argument with, they get mad that the cap was out of whack. At the same time, you can't blame the team because the team tried. They were at least giving it a shot compared to like Cleveland, who's got like 110 million. What the hell do you need that much money under the cap when you ain't gonna sign anybody? How does that
Cleveland? I would actually try to sign like an entire starting.
Oh my! That's what I'm saying. What are you doing?
They need to sign every free agent quarterback on the market and just see which one works out.
Exactly. Well, remember the old saying, "You can't take it with you." Mm-hmm. It's the same thing with the salary cap.
That's true. That's true.
You can't take it with you, so what the hell you're saving? But my point was just
Slim J asked this in the YouTube chat. I think this is a good question. Is what about bringing Jimmy Graham back to New Orleans?
People have talked about it. Everybody debated on it. Now, let me say it like this: with Kobe, we didn't get the production we thought we would have got out of Kobe Fleener. Okay, so that was kind of a contract that didn't turn out very well. At the same time, but it didn't hurt him financially either in his contract if they cut him, if I'm correct. But if they bring back Jimmy Graham for not for no big contract, but something decent that's reasonable, I don't have a problem with it because I think he'll be a good fit back, and that can actually bring that tight end position to be a danger again. Because you think about it, you got Jimmy Graham. You got Mike Thomas. You got Ginn Long. Plus, you got Alvin Kamara. You got Mark Ingram. You got a lot of weapons that you got to worry about.
That would be a freaking
making my head hurt.
Philly dream team.
Yeah. So if you bring Graham back at a reasonable number, and I think that can happen, I don't have a complaint about it, as long as it's not like a $40 million contract like what they signed and hurt themselves with before. And I don't see that. I mean, that makes no sense. Nobody's going to do that at this point.
All right.
Do you still consider him playing at a high level though? I mean, Jimmy Graham?
Well, you got to think about it like this. In Seattle, I don't think he was a fit.
No, he's not. Definitely not.
He was not a fit in Seattle. That was the problem.
Why? I don't even understand that. Like, if you're a tight end that is big and can run and can catch, how do you not fit in wherever you go?
Well, the thing about it with him, because he really was more of a wide receiver in the sense that he
can't block. We get that.
Yeah, well, he doesn't want to block. He can block. He doesn't block. But now the thing about it, New Orleans actually all their receivers can block. Every last one of their receivers can block. So that's the one thing. But the one thing with him is that he's, good getting his space, and he's a good mismatch on defenses. So I mean, it makes sense that you could put him in, and you can still switch him out at times out to wide receiver like they used to do. So he's still versatile. There's so much you can do with him. So to me, I don't have a problem with it as long as the contract is not anything crazy. So I don't have a problem there. I think a lot of people with Vaccaro, I think Kenny Vaccaro, because he's probably, if he wants major money, I don't see him staying. That's the one I think that probably will go, one of the major losses in a sense with him. But at the same time, we still kind of fill that void already with Von Bell can play strong safety. You got Marcus Williams at free safety. You're comfortable there. And then you maybe draft another kid or two or even pull somebody from free agents for depth.
Yeah, Vaccaro never really lived up to after his rookie year.
It was up. Yeah, it was. I agree. It was kind of spotty, and then he had hit a couple of off-field issues and things like that. So I can't see them. I can see why they justify not giving him a major contract.
All right, give us a list of guys real quick that are departing New Orleans that you believe that.
I think Vaccaro.
All right.
possibly Willie Snead.
Okay.
Because I mean, Willie Snead, when he had the DUI last year, kind of got in the doghouse, got injured part of the year, and he really just never. This would have been the year right here for him to get a major contract. He would have definitely got signed for something if he had played well, and he didn't. He really didn't have a good year.
It seemed like every time I heard Willie Snead's name, it was after a big play against Carolina, and the announcer saying that's his third catch of the season.
Yeah, something like that. Right, right. Because he really was non-existent in the offense, and I think part of it was not as much his fault. It was probably more he was in the doghouse a little bit, so they kind of wrote him out of it. And number two, they had Brandon Coleman there. The only thing about with Brandon Coleman, he's also like a restricted free agent. Mm-hmm. I don't see anybody signing him for big money, so I don't see him leaving. I don't really see him leaving. And Snead, like I said, could go one way or another, but who's going to really sign him to a major contract?
Right.
At this point, because you gave the owner all the leverage you wanted with the DUI from the year before. You gave them the leverage to really give you like a minimal contract anyway, not a veteran's contract or something. So it's nothing. I don't see him getting anything over the top.
All right,
so
I don't. Any other departures?
Not really. Okafor, I think Okafor could be a possibility because I think he only had a 1-year contract, so he could go, and so you could see him possibly leave to another team. But I don't know, because if Vaccaro leaves, he may decide to go himself. I don't know.
We asked Gene about the Bucs team, and he was focused on the defense. The defense needing to be plugged up or bolstered. Somebody mentioned in the chat room that you guys don't have a ton of holes. So where would you like to see New Orleans improve this offseason?
Well, I mean, like I said, more production out of the tight end position, whether it be to get Jimmy Graham or you draft somebody in the draft. Because there's some couple of good draft picks you can get really cheap. Think about it, fairly cheap. Maybe you go second or third round on a good solid tight end who's got the same size as Graham, who can probably flourish in the offense. And you can go that way, and he's got a 4-year contract. It's still minimal money. You don't have to. You're not having that issue there. So that could be. I think it can go either way on that one. But tight end is we need production out of. I really want to see them get at least one or maybe two solid linebackers in the draft. I want to get at least one good draft. I think for sure they're going to go linebacker in the draft. That's what I would do unless one of the major quarterbacks drop in the draft and Sean Payton likes him, maybe he picks him up, because now you got him cheaper too, especially at 27. So that could be a possibility there. But I really think it's an outside possibility on that. Mm-hmm. But I think they really do need to add another linebacker to the mix. I think if they can get them a good Rashawn Evans or like Malik, was it Wilt Jackson out there, the one in Texas? Yep. Him. One of those two guys, something like that. Add them, AJ Klein. You got Anzalone. That could be a nice little crew right there at linebacker. Plus, you got Robertson, who can also come in. And so, I mean, I still just like see them keep upgrading that linebacker, upgrading in the defensive line. Find another cornerback. I like Crawley, and don't get me wrong, but you still need to get another shutdown. If you can get another shutdown guy for that other side with Lattimore, now that's a even better defense.
Gene, Greg, he said earlier in the show, he said we had a pretty good draft. We had some pretty good players in the draft. They had like the best draft in the last 2 decades of the NFL, I felt like, at least after the first year. You mentioned that you were potentially interested in Nick Chubb. Where do you want, other than defensive ends, maybe an acquisition in the offseason? Maybe obviously Chubb at running back could be an answer at running back, but what other options?
Bradley Chubb.
Excuse me. Yeah, that's right. Is the NC State Bradley Chubb defensive end? He's amazing, dude. That dude's awesome. But so is Nick Chubb, by the way. And Nick Chubb would actually.
You ain't wrong, but he's a Chubb. That's for sure.
Yeah. Is that they're cousins? I mean, obviously not obviously. I mean, just because you got the same last name, but Chubb ain't like God.
That's a pretty unique last name.
Yeah, I didn't just like hear a bunch of Chubbs in my class when I was growing up as a kid.
Believe it or not, they are from a town called Chubbville, Georgia.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, they are. The town is actually named after them.
Yep.
If I'm
After
correct.
their family. Yep.
Yeah,
Dang.
the town's named after the family. I remember the
Wow.
story. They were talking about that. Yeah.
They've been running
couldn't be
over
so lucky.
mugs since days of the railroad.
There's been Chubbs in Georgia for a long time.
God.
Yeah, apparently
I
so.
own that place now. All right, so what are some other options? Not draft prospects necessarily, but where do you need to see this team get better? Because I mean, and a lot is the coaching staff. You got to see them prove it. And God bless you if you draft another kicker. We will laugh,
bro. It's not gonna happen.
But
you don't have to worry about that.
What
That's
do
not
you
gonna
guys
happen.
want to do to get better? That's what I want to know. What do you want to do to get better?
It's got to start on the line. Personally, if it's me, and I'm not a GM, there's a reason I'm not a GM, but I would move Ali Marpet back to guard, and I would try to find a center. That would be my choice, but I think they could potentially stick with the experiment of keeping Ali Marpet at center and trying to go out and find a guard. One way or the other, they need to get some depth on that offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
And again, they need to. I know I'm preaching on this, but that defensive line is a killer. And if you've looked at the playoffs and you look at all the dominant teams, they all have good pass rushes. They all got pressure on the quarterback. And that's huge. And Tampa was just not able to do that consistently. And that hurt them throughout the season. And to me, that's one of the most glaring holes that I see. It'll help everybody else out on the back end. Linebacker core, you don't have to too much worry about that. I don't know what's going to happen with TJ Ward. So I'm thinking maybe safety, or cornerback. I can see bringing free agents in either one of those positions as well. So there's a lot of holes there. And I think it all starts with in the trenches, basically shoring up that offensive line and defensive line. Once you can get some consistency there and you have a decent running game, it's definitely going to make this team look a lot better.
I got a question about the Bucs for you, Gene. Do you think that they're going to go best player available, or do you think they're going to go strictly for a particular need?
They're going to go best player available. Only because the players, only where their needs are. I mean, you want the best player available. Yeah. Edge rusher, or possibly like Nelson. If Quentin Nelson's available, mm-hmm. I could see that happening. And just whoever's available at 7. I've even heard people talking about trading back and getting more draft picks. So, there's a lot of opportunities there to do some things. But I think it all starts in free agency to see what they do there.
Well, let me ask you a question on that, because I mean, a couple people. I saw an article even earlier today too about New Orleans possibly trading back as well. When you really think about it, because I know Belichick made that kind of fashionable a couple of years ago, and then he stopped doing it. Why is there everybody think that I get it, you say you're going to get more players, but name a team that actually had traded back, got more players, and actually won a damn thing.
Well, Dallas Cowboys and Herschel.
Dallas Cowboys. You took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, well, okay, but how many? But I'm talking about recently. I'm talking about recently.
That was a long time ago.
Seven theoretically. When you get in the top 10, the idea is that if you're a piece away, if you're truly pretty good, that you in like one thing could really help your team, you have an opportunity to get it. So if the Bucs don't see this as a long-term prospect of recovering, they should probably, you would think they would stick there at 7. If they do think that this is going to take, if you're going to have a 4-win season, 6-win season,
they can't.
I know that coaching staff can't. The coaching staff
they can't.
But also the question is too, is this a deep enough draft to be drafting back and actually, picking up other players? Because you know how some drafts maybe go 10, 12 players that are really elite, and then everybody else is really kind of a mixed bag. You know what I mean? Because really guys in the second round could have been drafted in the first, and guys in the first probably should have been a third rounder.
Right.
But, and things like that. And that's the question that's my biggest question with this draft. How deep is this draft to do such things? Because you might be better to stick where you are, pick that one damn player and just move your ass on.
Yeah.
You know, that's the truth.
That's a great point. That's a great point right there.
You know, because
And again, it all starts with free agency. You have to see what they do in free agency, and you know, do they fill holes, and you know, are they set up depth wise to do this? Because right out the gate, they had 2 serious injuries that totally killed their defensive line, and that was pretty much they were on their heels the rest of the season.
well,
So
and
again,
I
that's
tell you,
just depth.
I'll make
Go
a
ahead.
point for best player available, and on a couple of occasions with New Orleans. Actually, just last year, you think about it, when they drafted that trade they made with the New England in 32 at Ramchick, every New Orleans Saint fan, except for myself, bitched and complained that they didn't need another tackle. Zach Street gets hurt in that first season. The kid sticks through and ends up playing every single snap all season, and was one of the best rookie tackle in the league. Plus, he played left tackle when Armstead wasn't there. Think about it, if they turn around and we listen to some of the other people because they didn't go best player available instead of going for drafting on the defensive end or something like that. You know, so to me, I'm okay with the best player available approach, because I found out that a lot of times now players get hurt, and 9 to 10 you had that guy, and you probably had a shot. You wish you had that guy if you turned around and went best player available, because you had your shot to draft him, and he could have been in that spot. So, you know, with Tampa, where they got so many holes, I would go best player available. That would be me. It would make common sense to me to go just whoever is available. I don't care what the spot is, even if he's going to be on the bench. It seems like he's going to be on the bench. Get him.
What about Gene? What about Cameron Brate?
Cameron Brate, I would love to see him back. He was productive last year, but as you saw that towards the end of the season, you saw OJ Howard and the potential and the reason that the Tampa Bay Bucs drafted him in 19. You're starting to see where he's more productive. And now that he has a season with Jameis Winston under his belt, I think those are two weapons that you're going to definitely see more of. You saw a few tight end sets. You didn't see as many as I thought you would, but I do expect to see more of that this season.
Why wouldn't they do 2 tight end sets with those 2 tight ends? You got 2 productive tight ends, probably more productive than your receivers.
You know, I'm not even.
Well, I think because here's the thing is that if you were going to run, is that you want to have Deshaun Jackson out there. You want to have, what's his name? Mike
Evans.
Mike Evans.
At some point,
let me say this.
You're going to have to. You would have to go one. You know, it's probably got to do something with that, and OJ Howard being young, and in those first couple of weeks, not really give him a ton.
But Howard is good enough that he can actually come in and line up at wide receiver at some spots at times too. I don't think he's just strictly a tight end. I think you can kind of flex him out and do some other things.
Big boy.
He's a big dude, but
he's physical. He can block. I haven't seen a tight end block like that for a long time. Right.
Yeah, but so then you guys just stunk in calling the plays. If he can block,
yeah. You know what? You know, I'm not gonna come right out there and put him on blast. But you know, there were some times that I saw players running wide open, and you're running another play. So I just, you know, all I can do is fans cheer, coaches coach, players play. You know.
All right.
Yeah, but I was going to ask on that because I know what you're saying with the 2 tight end set. You're right, but at the same time, how good of a pick do you think Deshaun Jackson was? Pickup he was.
I think there was an issue. I think there was an issue with him hooking up with Jameis Winston. I don't know if you remember everybody in Tampa crying about getting rid of Mike Evans when he dropped all those balls, because there wasn't that connection between him and Jameis Winston.
Right.
They fixed that in the offseason. I think it's the same thing. You've got a wide receiver who's faster than I think anybody that Jameis Winston's ever played with, and they just could never connect. He would either overthrow him or underthrow him, and they just weren't there. And I think that if they can, you know, get that fixed, this will be the season where you'll know for sure if it was a good or bad pick.
You're probably right on that, because I mean, I just felt like that. Yeah, he was not really
they weren't on the same. They just weren't on the same page.
Guy. Yeah. I love Deshaun Jackson. Like if you put him in Carolina, game over.
See, it's funny.
Game over.
I like the guy. I do like him. I don't love Deshaun Jackson. He's not one of those.
I do.
He's not. He's not one of my favorites. He's good.
2 catches, 99 yards, 2 touchdowns. Boom.
Well, this is my thing. If him and Jameis Winston are on the same page, there's a lot of touchdowns that were left on the field because they just missed each other.
Oh, without a doubt.
And that's all I needed to know about Deshaun Jackson. You won't hear me complain about him being in Tampa.
Yeah,
and especially if him and Jameis Winston get that connection going. It all starts with the running game. So if they can get a good running back in the backfield, whoever it may be, and fix that line a little bit, it's a totally different team than what you saw last year. Totally different offense.
We're getting close to 10 o'clock, and we got a couple more segments to go. So let's just hit the last points. What do you want to leave us with, Greg, on the New Orleans Saints and their prospects in the offseason going into 2018? Good season, real surprising. Not surprising season. I thought the Saints were being overlooked last year, but then they came out on fire.
Yeah, they went 0-2. I know a lot of people probably figure, back to 7-9. But the thing about it was, I really did think that they were going to go like 10, 11 games. I honestly did at the beginning of the season, because I felt like that the team over those years, even though they were 7-9, they were building it through the draft. They had some really good picks. They were maturing and growing. And, Marshawn Lattimore slipping to them, actually being able to get Alvin Kamara, that filled a huge spot right there. I knew the minute they got him out, because that was my favorite player in the draft was Kamara. And this year, it's like they can get anything close to that draft where they can get, huh? Oh yeah, even before the draft began, that was the guy I wanted. Honestly,
right.
More than anybody, he was the guy I wanted, because I saw him in Tennessee so many times, and I was always amazed by this dude. And I'm like, oh man, he was in New Orleans, that would be sick. And it was, and so. For me,
it is. Good Lord, he's just gushing over there like when you get bang.
Oh God, it was Christmas, man. When they got him, everybody else was mad because they traded, a couple of picks and stuff. And I'm like, I promise you, you will not regret this. And I was right. Anyway, this year I would love to see. Hopefully, they can get a good, solid draft. One is, I think part of it's going to add depth. Number 2, I think it's going to fill a couple more holes. I really want to see them get a linebacker. And if they can pull a linebacker and a tight end out of the draft, whatever they do after that, I'm not as worried, because at that point, whether it's depth or not, or somebody who might end up being a potential starter, they can build them up. So they can just keep working with them and go from there. But I expect them to, go through this, sign Breeze, and do all the things that they, got to get ready for the season and get ready to, get another double-digit win season, and this time go to the Super Bowl in Atlanta and win the Super Bowl in Atlanta.
Is Taysom Hill the answer for life after Breeze?
And I don't know that, because this thing, you think about it, they picked up that kid, they picked up him. He wasn't in training camp. He was in Green Bay's training camp. New Orleans ended up, Green Bay cut him. New Orleans ended up picking the kid up and kept him on the regular roster. And so I don't know if because I don't really know behind as far as how he's picking up the offense or any of that stuff. If he is, I'm all for it. I don't really care who it is. You know what I mean? They can come from. I don't care if they come from a paper bag that they left at the front door. I don't care how they draft them, they grow them, they get them as a free agent. I don't care how they get them, as long as they got somebody that can continue things after Breeze leaves. I don't care.
Mel, you know what Taysom Hill and I have in common?
What?
We don't drink.
That's a good thing, man.
I don't drink right now.
He seems like he's a nice kid. He's fun, and I seen some of the film on him in college.
He's Mormon. He went to BYU. He's a BYU, and I know this girl at work, and the Mormons root for Mormons, and they just and they love some Taysom Hill. You guys, you're more than welcome to hang out. We got we're gonna be doing our cat calls in just a second, our ice up picks, or you can go ahead and dip out. We're gonna go to Gene and ask you this. Gene, is what do you want us to take away from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at this moment? I feel like a little frustration in the way you're talking about the Bucs to a level I don't really tend to get from you, I think.
Well, it's one of those things where they have to win now. They have to win. The general manager's job's on the line. The head coach's job's on the line. I hate change. I mean, if you're going to have somebody, you got to stay consistent. You got to stay the course. But with some of the play calling that I've seen, and I know I've gotten grief from people saying that I'm wrong about this, but some of the play calling that I've seen, it just hasn't improved. And, I understand rookie coach mistakes, time management mistakes, just little things, not paying attention to detail. And it's frustrating to me. There's a lot of talent on this team, and 5 wins last season, it just is not acceptable. No. So what they have to really do is go out, and this has to be lights out. I mean, from free agency all the way to the first game of the season, it has to be lights out. They have to be looking at this like we have to get to the playoffs. I mean, that's the only way they keep their jobs.
Well, the question is, do you expect it to happen? I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, do I expect it? There's parity in the NFL, and I'm a fan. I would be crazy to say no, I don't expect it. I expect them to do what they were supposed to have done this year. So, just with limited changes and bringing in upgrades, I expect them to be in the playoffs.
Well, I think the Buccaneers are a lot like the Panthers in that they go as far as their quarterback takes them. And I when I watch Jameis Winston, he is a promise unfulfilled to this point.
He's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I agreed. I don't disagree with any of that. I mean, it's very true. It's very true, and it does go with him. But I think I think it's got to be another coach that gets through to him, because I thought the biggest mistake in the world was hiring Dirk Cutter in the first place. I just didn't see him as he's an offense coordinator. He's not a head coach. I just didn't see it, and it's kind of proven there.
The attention to detail is just not there. I mean, I look at other head coaches and how they handle business. I only know a few coaches that can actually call offensive or defensive plays and still be a head coach, and it's hard to do. And you have to be able to pay attention to detail.
Yeah,
and hopefully with some of the moves they made, we'll see. I'm just quietly optimistic, I guess you'd put it. But yeah, I expect Tampa to get to the playoffs. I mean, they have no other choice unless we're looking at a whole nother regime going into 2019.
Let me tell you this: is you're going to find out if Dirk Cutter is a head coach or an assistant this season.
Yeah, you are.
He's either gonna make it to the playoffs and be a head coach, or you'll see him as an assistant next year, the following year in 2019 somewhere. Mel, any last thoughts before we hit these cat calls? Frozen Mel.
Ice up, son. Ice up, son.
You got any last thoughts before we hit these cat calls?
I'd like to have you guys back on our draft night for sure, because I want to hear y'all's thoughts on the direction that everything's going to heat up about the draft after the combine. Yep. So I'll be interested in your take to see where it's going to go.
These are the guys we go to on draft night. So we do the live show. We expect to catch up with you, even if it's just by phone. Here, guys, cool. One of the things that we do, part of the show is we have fans call in and they can leave a voicemail. Carolina Panther fans can leave a voicemail to be listened to be played on the C3 Carolina Panthers podcast. The number for the Cat Calls line is 252-228-5098. That's 252-228-5098. Go ahead and plug it in your phone, folks. So when that burst of inspiration hits you, you just give us a call, leave a message, and we'll play it. It's got a 3-minute limit, so be ready. It's going to cut you off if you ain't. So we expect to hear from more people. We got some good cat calls tonight. Here we go.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty you shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like...
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use one?
Tone it son, Mel Mayock, and that freaking Puerto Rican Joe Riolano, and to whoever else might be blessing the podcast with their presence tonight. What's up, boys? My name is Cody Lashney, and it's time for this week's edition of Better Know a Potential Panthers Draft Pick. Now, from here on out, what I'm going to do, which is going to be different than what I've been doing, is I'm going to be looking at guys that I think we could potentially target in the first round. And this week, we're going to be taking the man who Mel Mayock just took at pick 24 in his most recent Draft Tech mock draft. We are looking at none other than Iowa cornerback Joshua Jackson. And
yeah,
whoa, do his stats jump off the screen. He had a mind-blowing season with 27 passes defended and 8 interceptions. He had a 41.3% completion rate on a 25.7% of his targets. He is 6'1", 192 pounds, and he is a ball hawk. He is everything that you want at the cornerback position, and I personally believe that he has the potential to be a day one starter in our very own Marshawn Lattimore, like the Saints got last season. I don't want to hear any more about Darryl Worley. I don't want to hear any more about Kayvon Seymour. They're not the answer at the position. You have to bring in guys to compete at the position, and our backfield has been by far the biggest weakness on our defense. Our front seven cannot be expected to handle the load for that long. Our corners need to step it up. I think Joshua Jackson is our guy. If I had to pick a guy right now, this would be the guy that I'm looking to bring in. He was only a one-year starter, so that might be concerning. Some people might be wondering why he didn't win that job sooner. But listen, I think this guy has all the upside that you want. He has a great head on his shoulders. I think this guy should be a Carolina Panther. Until next week, my name is Cody Lashley, the YouTube champion. Keep pounding, boys.
Mel, response to that, getting a lot of love there on your pick, Joshua Jackson.
Yeah, I think he agrees with me.
Think so.
Yeah, he's got stereotypical size. I mean, everything you want in a cornerback. You know, a key for him is going to be at the combine. How does he run? I'm telling you, if he runs a 4.4 40, he'll be a top 10 pick.
Yeah.
If he runs a 4.6 40, he'll be there at 24 or even go into the second round. So
yeah.
I mean, you know,
we don't need a 4. We need a 4. We need a 4.4 guy. That's what we want. We want a guy that, like Cody says, they have to have. They don't just need to be good. We need upside. We need a guy that is good at his worst and great if he turns out.
But the problem is, I mean, he does have eye-popping stats. I mean, 8 interceptions last year, 27 passes defensed. I mean, just unbelievable ball skills, and he's a heck of a tackler. I mean, he gets up there and lays the wood like, you know, with no fear. So if he runs a 4.4 40, he will not be there at 24. That's the problem.
All right, he'll probably be a dang buck.
Probably.
All right, we got Carl D up next.
Hello, Cat Chronicles. This is one of the loyal fans, Mr. Carl D himself, Carlton Davis. I'm gonna try to be quick today, so I don't get cut off. But anyway, I am so mad that now Herney is back. A way to get this dude out of there, and they done figured out a way to bring this dude back. I wish we had Lake Dawson. It would have been a great candidate, but now we got the Herney guy. I tell you what, this time Herney better have some balls on him to get rid of some of these Asian veterans, cut some contracts so we can have some free agency space. Get rid of Stewart, even Khalil, cut his ass since he retired, and then make him and re-sign him to a 1-year deal.
Wow.
Cut some of these guys we don't need. As we know, in Herney's first stint, he was scared to cut guys. He didn't have the Bozingas to do it. So if they give this job to Herney like it looks like they is, Herney, throw balls this time, and don't put us in no cap hole, okay? And I'm sad that I've heard that we might be losing Norwell, our guard. I mean, but oh well, at least we get some more cap space to get some free agency. Who y'all think we should get in free agency? Let me know. And, oh yeah, Slim J, I got a kicker for you. Daniel Carson from Auburn. He was 13 of 20, and that's from 50 yards and beyond. So there you go, Slim J. I gave you a kicker. I have some guards here, but I'm not going to go through with them. I'll do that next week. Until then, let me know in the comment section. Keep pounding.
I love this. These guys got, not only do they keep the conversation rolling all night in the chat box, but they even get after each other on the calls and having fun.
They do.
That's the Cat Calls line. The number's 252-228-5098. We encourage everybody listening right now to go ahead and smash that thumbs up button, subscribe to the show. Right now we're at the high 700s of subscribers on YouTube. We got to get to 1,000. That's the magic number we got to get to by the beginning of the season to stay in YouTube awesome land. And so that's what our goal is. Help us reach that goal. But you can do that by sharing the show. Tweet it out, put it on Facebook, drop it in a group, wherever you know people talk about the Carolina Panthers. Share our podcast, because this is really, as far as I know, the only show other than people that are paid on the radio that comes every week, even in the desert of this moment when it comes nothing to talk about football. So guys, we do the final segment of the show. We ice up somebody. It's our homage to Steve Smith, and where he tells somebody, ice up, son. Speaking, I tell you, Carl D, who the guy is. Who's that corner from Denver that got shot in the leg?
Akeem Talib.
Yeah, bring him.
Yeah,
We want him. That's who I want.
Well,
I want some attitude.
I want Jeremy Hill. Hill.
Yeah, there you go. That's it. Yep, I agree too with that. So, all right. So the last segment of the show is the ice up picks, where we tell somebody ice up, toughen up, get it together. It's our homage to Steve Smith, and not Talib Kweli, but Talib Akib or Akib Talib, whatever his name is. I always think of Talib Kweli.
Imagine how this goes when he is drinking.
I know. Talib Kweli, I heard Black Star's coming back, even though Most Def, or whatever his African name is now, is like in trouble in South Africa. His visa ran up or something like that, and then he got kicked out of the country. But they're coming back with an album. But this is our homage to that moment. Mel, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I will.
I got one thing. I forgot to do the ice cubes. All right, hit them up.
All right, so this is one I even debated, even if I should do, because the guy does not even deserve or to be spoken about. But it was all over the news this year, bringing back some memories of some dark days of the Carolina Panther history, and that was one Ray Caruth, who had all promise in the world. But now, 17 short years later, he is going to be, coming October, he is going to be out of jail. And he writes a 15-page paper, sends it to the news, talking about how he's a changed man, how he's found God, how he's taken accountability, which, hey, you know what? Good. And I hope that's true, and I'm not the judge of that. But when he goes on to tell, and I forget the exact wording, but he says, face it, talking to the grandmother who raised his child, who he permanently deformed and almost killed. She's been raising him. He says, look, you're not going to be around forever. Raising. So he's calling out that he wants custody after he gets out of prison. Son. He's got no right to even bring that up or to stir that drama pot. You know, you talk about having cojones. That is misplaced cojones. You know, so Ray Caruth, definitely airtime to be talking about. He should never get near that sun. Right to even see him, in my opinion. Him and God. But what I can do is I can say Ray Caruth, ice up.
Ice up. You know, here's the thing that's weird about not weird about Ray Caruth, because there's so many things that are awful about it, but the kid's 17 years old. So it's not like you're, I mean, what are we fighting about custody for? The
Yeah, I
kid's
mean,
about to
like
be
for
an
1
adult.
year.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what does that mean? So this is funky. This is some sort of play.
It is.
I think, but ice up, Ray Caruth. All right. Gene, what you got one for us tonight?
Yeah, I do actually. The All-Star, the singing of the national anthem in the All-Star game.
Fergie.
He already know where I'm going with this. There was no need for that. I mean, it was so bad. I heard Mike Pence took a knee when he in protest. For that. So all I'm saying is, Fergie, next time you're in a packed crowd, just all you got to do is look over your shoulder and think about what Pink did for the Super Bowl national anthem, and just kind of keep it cool, keep it classy, and do your thing. If you want to add a little bit to it, do that in the shower or something. But all these people around and all this, you don't have to subject anybody to this. And all I got to say now is ice up, girl.
Yeah, you're lucky you got a giant booty, girl. You lucky. Lucky. If you did, we would be really upset. Greg Barber, you got an ice up pick for us?
I actually see, nothing really comes to mind right off the top of my head.
All right.
Well, dude, here's the agreement. Anytime any of us can't come up with an ice up pick, you just default to the Atlanta Falcons.
There you go.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
All right.
You know what? As a matter of fact, I will ice up. I will. Oh, I got one, and it is to the Atlanta Falcons fans.
There you go.
Probably the most disgusting thing in the world is to see the New Orleans Saints win the Super Bowl. Ice up, because it's gonna happen in Atlanta.
All right.
All right. My ice up pick. Look, there's always a lot to pick from. This is my problem. I always have the hardest time picking an ice up pick. You got JJ Redick, who said to all the Chink fans of the NBA, and he meant to say Chinese. He meant to say all the, and they did. But see, here's the funny thing about this is that the video was edited by a company, like by some production. They could have just taken it out. So not only did he say thanks, he said Happy New Year to all the Chink fans of the NBA. They left it in, so you could ice that one up. And you can ice up somebody who really made me so mad this week was that stupid ass Laura Ingraham taking swipes at LeBron, where you can. So I didn't like that. But my number one, my ice up pick has to go to. It's kind of a complicated thing. Alexander Krushelnitsky, who won the mixed doubles bronze alongside his wife Anastasia Barzagolova, tested positive for a banned substance, and they won a bronze. He in curling.
Wait a minute.
Yeah,
I'm calling a timeout right now on that one. How does steroid curling is finesse?
Yeah, I've heard about this.
I don't know. They got to do that, like the sweeping thing real fast. But I've solved the mystery. I've solved the mystery. Let me say this: is that first of all, this comes to the backdrop of one of the largest doping scandals in the history of the earth when it comes to the most organized when it comes to Russia, like a systematic doping. They've been caught by this. This is nothing surprising when it comes to Russia.
Not at all. They've been doing this for years.
But the representative of the coach of the women's team said it's stupid it's stupid. She quote, "It's stupid, but Alexander is not stupid, so I don't believe it," said Sergei Balanov. She's a Russian coach. So I was thinking about this, and I was like, all right, what's going on? What's like, do you really need advantage, substance, this physical advantage? Well, I have solved the mystery, and nobody else is on to this. The reason he took a performance-enhancing and drug, and I'm gonna have to show it to you. You guys in the chat will not be able to see this, but that are on the show with me. But the people who are watching can. His wife, Anastasia Berzogalova, is like a 12.
Oh, wow.
She is fly as all get out.
Well, she's Russian, and there's some really fly Russian women.
Yeah, until they hit like 45, and then they turn into men.
I don't know, but I mean,
I got a thing for Russian women myself.
Whoa.
I have a real big thing for Russian women myself, but she is amazingly, she's just gorgeous. So my theory is that the PEDs turned out that they were not for curling.
They were for to keep them in shape.
Yeah, my man just had to keep up.
Were they blue pill?
Keep that testosterone flowing.
Yeah, that's it, man. You just gotta keep your levels up. You gotta keep your levels up. You're gonna lose that.
Is this proven? Or I mean, it makes sense. I mean,
yeah.
Just do this. I'm gonna do this. I want you guys. I truly want you to see this girl.
Let me look.
Just Google Anastasia. Here, I'm gonna put it in the chat. It is. Let me see here. Hold on. I got two computers going here. Her name is Anastasia Bryzgalova.
Oh, okay. Yep. Here we go.
Berzogalova.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up now.
So PEDs understood, bro. Get it. And I think he should be given a pass. I think he should be given a pass. So that's the Ice Up segment of the C3 Carolina Panthers podcast. My name's Tony Dunn. This is the #1 Carolina Panthers podcast. Why? By default. We are the #1 Panthers podcast because we're the only jokers who do this every week for 5 years and still keep doing it. So we thank you for joining the show. Gene, tell them where they can find Buck What You Heard, because that's my favorite Bucs podcast.
all right. Well, yeah, you can check us out on YouTube on Buck What You Heard. If you type that in, just give me a follow, subscribe, give me some likes. And the cool thing is, if you get in the chat and I see you, I'll definitely mention your chats. Anything you got to say that you want to get out there and get that going. So, yeah, please check it out. And you can reach me at Super Heavyweight on Twitter.
All right. Greg Barber, where are you at these days?
Well, I haven't been writing yet. I'm actually going to be starting my own podcast. I was kind of working with the show formats and everything with mine. So I do have one that's Talking My Saints. That's going to be one that's coming out for getting ready for the new season here. So very soon here, I'm going to get that back up and running again, Talking My Saints. So I will be getting that out to everyone and ready to go.
Oh, guys, J-Dub just crushed the chat room. He won tonight with talking about Anastasia. He called her the real Red Sparrow.
It's not bad. She's definitely not bad at all.
J-Dub, you just won the chat, bro. All right, it's Tuesday night. We'll check you out next week. 1 week from now, maybe we'll have something to talk about. Good night, folks.